December 2023, and today is a marvelous day. We have winter all over Norway, and I have come to Trondheim today after a very long trip from Nordreisa so far south, so I can be on the place together with you this weekend in Roa at Bråstad Gård. I will today it will be mostly in English, but we will translate into Norwegian as well. So very shortly in Norwegian. Velkommen alle sammen, da vi kommet til 5. desember, og jeg havnet i Trøndelag etter en lang reise med masse utfordringer. Men livet skal være fullt av utfordringer, for det er de utfordringene man skal vise at man kan gjennomføre med prakt og bram. Så jeg gleder meg til helga at vi skal møtes på Bråstad Gård, og i kveld så har vi gleden av å ha en helt spesiell gjest med oss. And tonight we have a very special and dear guest from Russia with us today. And before she is introduced, Bård, he will read up the invitation for the tonight show. Word is yours, Bård.
Takk skal du ha. Thank you very much. Da går vi rett inn i plakaten for kveldens sending. Så her ser vi jo Dr. Irene Cæsar, Bioholography for fighting the autoimmunity and immunodeficiency caused by SARS, CoV-2 and COVID-19 vaccines. That's a bit of a mouthful, but okay. I'm not going to introduce any further. I'm just going to read the invitation here. Så, kjære lysarbeidere, ja, i mangel av veldig mye kunnskap om det som skjer her, og Irene, så har jeg nå fått spikret sammen en invitasjon, så jeg leser her. Kjære lysarbeidere, ja, tirsdag allerede, og frihetskonferansen er kun et par-tre dager unna. Ja, jeg sier det rett ut. Resten av livet det står på pause akkurat nå, og ikke bare for meg, men også for resten av redaksjonen i hvert fall. Vivian i sin ville ferd mot sør, meg selv krumbøyd over Macbooken min her. Nakken er bedre, skjerfet er vekk. Det var først i dag. Og Aina, hun går jo inn og ut i møter nærmest døgnet rundt. Så dere kan jo gjette om jeg heller skulle ønske at jeg kunne betalt 300 kroner og satt meg rolig ned og bare vært en deltager på denne konferansen, som dere alle har muligheten til. Allikevel, vårt publikum, de skal ha sitt, så the show must go on. Vår første gjest i studio i dag, det er ingen ringere enn en russisk forsker, Dr. Irene Cæsar, som nevnt her med altså bioholography som sitt spesialfelt. Dette leder oss inn på medbed-teknologi, som vi også har hørt en del om før på disse sendingene. Det er ikke mitt spesialfelt, men jeg vet at vi har folk som kan det meste om dette her, og den som vel kan mest om det, det er vår gjest her, Dr. Irene Cæsar. I andre segmentet så håper vi noen har lagt seg i selen og funnet, eller krevet, ja, krevet har jeg skrevet, det skal være skrevet et høringssvar til høringen om ekspropriasjon av privat eiendom for å møte behovene til våre nye landsmenn. Får vi tid til noe mer, så finner vi nok noe meningsfullt å fylle den tiden med også. Så velkommen til kveldens show, og tilbake til Vivian.
Thank you, Bård. It was a small introduction for the invitation for tonight. Then I wish welcome. It's an honor, and it's the second time we have had one Russian scientist to join our show. And in Norway, we have every Monday at 8 o'clock, at Tuesday at 9 o'clock, we are having different subjects in this time of change. There is a big change going on within all societies globally. And the most important issue we are working with is with our health. And I'm so honored that Irene is with us tonight. And I think she is the best one to tell about herself and her enlightening into her subject and her special knowledge and interest. So welcome to Irene.
Thank you. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers of this conference, Vivian specifically, for inviting me and letting me introduce you to Bioholography by Wave Genome LLC. I am the author of the fundamental theory of wave optics and chromosomes, which I had formulated in 1985, much prior to anybody in the field of bioholography, including Peter Garyaev and Tirspishny and many others after them. In 1995, I had formulated the theory of wave crystals, the fundamental theory of everything, which interpreted the universe, the galaxy, and the chromosome from the point of view of wave crystals, because the universe is 93% energy and only 7% particles. And I had interpreted the emergence of life, the regeneration from the point of view of crystallization, and not simply the crystallization of the liquid crystal media, which constitutes 7% of who we are, but the crystallization of the wave crystal media, which we are for 93%. And also, I'm the president of the American company Wave Genome LLC, which was incorporated in the state of Connecticut in the United States of America in 2010. So it is 13 years of this company. It is a very successful company. It is the research and development company, the production company, and the marketing company in one package. And my company is remarkable in some sense for two things. First of all, my company was the first company that had introduced the large medical bet to the global market in 2010. Secondly, my company was the first company which introduced the electrode-based technology to the global market for the treatment of humans based upon the individualized bioholography. So before my company, other companies used electrodes in Russia. Electrodes are polymer crystals, tetrapole polymer crystals. And because our DNA is a tetrapole crystal, application of the tetrapole electrodes, which have their own statical electricity and statical magnetism, so their own self-sufficient electricity and self-sufficient magnetism. So the application of electrodes literally restore our DNA. And our ancestors used this technology for millennia. So my company was the first company which individualized the electrodes with the wave matrix of the client. And this matrix was used as biohologram, and this biohologram was recorded by the laser. And before my company, other companies in Russia used electrodes and used them encoded with the wave matrices of supplements and drugs. But only my company was the first company in the world which encoded the electrodes with the individualized human matrix, wave matrix. And I will introduce this technology later on in my speech. And the title of my speech is Bioholography for treating the for treating the immunodeficiency and autoimmunity caused by SARS-CoV-2 and COVID-19 vaccines. And the point with this so-called pandemics, which I call the event 201, the point is that it is the airborne AIDS or airborne HIV. And we need to treat these pandemics not as some kind of virus which was not isolated from the intercellular liquid. We need to treat these pandemics as the pandemics of HIV. And what is HIV? It is human immunodeficiency virus. So it always starts with autoimmunity, when immune system attacks itself. When immune system attacks itself, it destroys itself. And the process of destruction is precisely the process of autoimmune reactions, cytokine storms, antibody dependent enhancement, and etc. Pathogenic priming. So any organ can fail because the proteins in these viruses are homologous to human proteins. What is homology? Homology means that one set of nucleotides inserts itself into the other set of nucleotides as a key into a keyhole. So all homologous nucleotides insert themselves into human RNA and DNA. And when it happens, the DNA starts producing the virus. So the human becomes a mutant who is producing the virus on his own. And no vaccine is possible in this case, because the more you introduce homologous nucleotides, the more you make your DNA produce the virus. That's why there is no vaccine against HIV. So if, humankind would have understood from the beginning that it is not some SARS-CoV-2 virus, but it is HIV pandemics, then humans would ask the question, if there is no vaccine against HIV, why we are offered some vaccines against this so-called SARS-CoV-2 virus? So we need to unfold this story with HIV, which is made into airborne HIV or airborne AIDS pandemics. So first of all, let us start from the beginning. So all proteins in this virus are homologous to human proteins except for one. Only one protein is not homologous. All proteins in this virus are homologous to human proteins. In fact, all human RNA viruses are homologous to human proteins. Ebola, Zika, SARS-CoV-2, all of them are HIV viruses. So all of them are HIVs. And they were not isolated from human intracellular liquid precisely because they are simply not some entities which were introduced from outside, but precisely because they are the state of the crystalline structure of chromosomes which is destroyed. And when the crystalline structure of chromosomes is destroyed, we get the structural damage of chromosomes. And the structural damage of chromosomes is the major cause for all diseases. So HIV basically is the wide spectrum so-called virus, right? The disease which destroys all organs. So all organs can fail. Any system can fail. So it is a wide range disease. So, and all proteins of SARS-CoV-2 are homologous. And how we know it? In 2020, there was the article in Journal of Translational Autoimmunity, Volume 3, to January 1st, 2020, by James Lyons Weiler, the Institute for Pure and Applied Knowledge, USA. And the paper was called Pathogenic Priming Likely Contributes to Serious and Critical Illness and Mortality in COVID-19 via Autoimmunity. And in this article, Dr. Lyons Weiler said that all proteins in SARS-CoV-2 are homologous to human proteins except for one. So when this virus, so-called virus, introduces itself into a human system, right? It gets inserted into DNA and RNA. And this causes the effect of this destructive RNA interference, which results precisely in autoimmunity and immunodeficiency. And the effect of the destructive RNA interference is precisely the cause of enhanced immune response, pathogenic priming, antibody-dependent enhancement, cytokine storm, and finally AIDS. And how we know about this phenomenon? Andrew Fire and Craig Mello received Nobel Prize in 2006 for the discovery of the destructive RNA interference. They took RNA from the worm, C. elegans worm, and had introduced this RNA back to the worm, and the worm died. So when Jennifer Doudna says that any genetic modification with your own RNA or DNA is not considered to be genetic modification, she's simply incompetent, unprofessional. So this Nobel Prize of 2006 on the effect of the destructive RNA interference firmly proves that the introduction of the homologous superfluous RNAs into your system destroys the structure, the precisely calibrated geometry of your chromosomes, causing the structural damage in chromosomes, which is the major cause for all diseases. So the vaccination, any vaccination with the so-called SARS-CoV-2 vaccines, COVID-19 vaccines, would constitute the effect of the destructive RNA interference and would cause the resultant, first of all, the autoimmune reaction when immune system attacks itself. And what happens when immune system attacks itself? The immune system tries to get rid of superfluous nucleotides, which are, external, not necessary nucleotides, which destroy the structure, the geometry of the chromosome. Then when the immune system destroys itself, then we get immunodeficiency. And the client, the person who is infected with this virus and could not cope with it, right? Or who is injected with the so-called vaccine, this person gets AIDS, immunodeficiency, and can get disease, any light disease, and die from any light infection, any light pneumonia, any light influenza, anything, or just die from exhaustion, stress, so would live very short life. So to get rid of this effect of the autoimmunity and immunodeficiency, we need to get rid of the destructive RNA interference, not simply avoiding vaccine. We need to do some other things that I will talk about later on in my speech. So the introduction of vaccines, right, will introduce more of the homologous RNAs into your system and will cause more of the autoimmune reaction, more of the immunodeficiency. And when we were told during the so-called 201 event, the pandemics, right, then the number of the antibodies testifies to your level of protection, right? The more antibodies you have in your system, the more protection you got, right? This was a complete and total lie, criminal lie. Because when you review the Lyme disease cases in the United States of America, you will see that even the fact of being sick with Lyme disease was determined by the number of your antibodies. So if you get enough of antibodies, you would be considered sick with Lyme disease. If the level of your antibodies were lower than the norm, the standard, right, they would consider you not sick with Lyme disease, because the level of antibodies precisely show the level of destruction of this crystalline structure of your liquid crystal media, the level of destruction of diameter of your chromosomes, the structural damage of your chromosomes. So this is not it. So we get autoimmune reaction, right? This means that we get pain in any organ. We can get pain because this autoimmune reaction can happen. Cytokine storm can happen in any organ, so any organ can fail, right? Then we get immunodeficiency. So the man can die of any light infection, any light influenza, any light pneumonia, right? Any light trauma, you know. But this is not all. This all ends with prion disease. Prions are the proteins with the destroyed crystalline structure, which get the structure of a sponge. So all encephalopathies, extreme cases of mental deterioration, all cases of extreme cases of encephalitis or encephalopathy, like Alzheimer's disease, right? They are the cases of prion disease. And prion disease is highly infective. Like cancer cells which have prions, proteins with destroyed crystalline structure, they become infective, like resonators, which literally make other resonators in your body vibrate with the same frequency. So this zombie apocalypse. So you have zombies, they bite you and they make you sick with the same mental deterioration. And remarkably, the mad cow disease in the United Kingdom in mid-1990s and the 2000s, mid-2000s, right, was caused when British were feeding the cows with their own proteins. So they were feeding cows with cows' meat, dried meat, and cows' dried bones. And cows got mad cow disease, so they got prion disease. So this is the paradigmatic case of the destructive RNA interference. So there was the article about this in 2021, February 8, in the journal Microbiology and Infectious Diseases by J. Bart Klassen. The article, the paper was called COVID-19 RNA-based vaccines and the risk of prion disease. So I was the first person in 2021 who got connected the zombie apocalypse with prion disease based upon the scientific data. And after I published this, I publicized this article, this paper, there was the explosion of this information over the internet. So it is proven that COVID-19 RNA-based vaccines cause prion disease. So it is proven. And Dr. Klassen doesn't work for any university in the United States of America. So he's not liable to any censorship by the academia in the United States. So he's not dependent with his finances upon the academia. So he is liable only to the military-industrial complex of the United States. So he made research and he delivered the data to the military-industrial complex in Maryland. So it's the East Coast where all this military-industrial complex in the United States is located. Also, there was an article also in 2020, in December 13, which had proven that this so-called virus inserts itself into DNA. And it is the article, the paper called SARS-CoV-2 RNA reverse transcribed and integrated into the human genome by Lidio Zhang, Alexia Richards, Andrew Khalil, Emil Vogram, Haiting Ma, Richard Young, Rudolf Janisch in Bio Review. So it was the article as early as December 2020 that this virus inserts itself into human DNA. And so the article proves that the human starting producing this virus on his own. And in fact, this is the program by DARPA. And the program is called Safe Gene or Gene Drive. So this all happened not out of the blue. This was all premeditated. So first, there was created this program, which was called Safe Gene or Gene Drive by DARPA, which is a military entity in the United States. And the scientists who created Wottendorf, I think, who created this, didn't include his name in my information, but I think it's Tom Wottendorf, who created this program for DARPA, and he then went to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And the program can be described in the following way. So we infect a human with the virus so that the human is starting producing the virus on his own. And because the human is producing the virus on his own, he's also producing his own vaccine. So this is the gist of this program. But this scientists did not inform the public, the global public, that this virus, so-called virus, is the HIV virus, and there can be no vaccine against HIV virus. So the human does not produce immunity against this virus, because this virus is simply the state of the state of the crystalline structure of the chromosomes. So it is the level of destruction in the intracellular liquid. This is what it is. And when people say that this virus was not isolated, there is no such virus. Yes, we can say there is no such virus, but there is this state of the intracellular liquid that we can call in this way or other way. And the major culprit of this whole event, 2001 event, COVID-19 pandemics, is in fact Luc Montagnier, who received the Nobel Prize for the isolation of HIV. And in fact, he did not isolate HIV. So he simply lied that he had isolated HIV, because it is impossible to isolate the RNA homologous virus, so-called virus, from the human intracellular liquid, because it is totally and completely homologous to human nucleotides. It is completely impossible. So this virus is so-called gain of function virus, GOF, gain of function or dual use research of concern virus. And in June 2021, there was a committee, health committee of the Republican Party meeting in Washington, D.C., and Republicans had invited 5 major virologists of the United States. And these virologists had explained that this is precisely the chimeric virus. It is 2 viruses in one. So it is the HIV positive RNA virus under the disguise of the animal respiratory virus. And they explained how this virus was produced. So the virus was produced in the following way. The humanized mice, so the mice with the artificially inserted human genes, the humanized mice, right? They were introduced with 2 viruses at the same time, since the chimeric virus was produced, which is the HIV, human HIV, with under the disguise of the animal respiratory virus. And this human HIV consisted in 4 inserts in the spike protein CGG, 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 CGG. So 4 inserts nucleotide sequence in the S protein, spike protein in this virus. So in this 4 inserts of the homologous nucleotides made this virus make a jump over interspecies jump from the animal species to the human species and make this so-called animal respiratory virus infective to humans. And they said that there can be no way of how this virus would have emerged naturally. So this virus had emerged exclusively artificially. So it was artificially produced by the genetic engineering and precisely by the reverse transcription. And this virus is a chimeric virus, and you cannot deal with this virus as the animal respiratory virus. So it is precisely the HIV virus, and you should deal with this virus as the HIV virus, human immunodeficiency virus. Also, they said that nobody found the intermediate species, the same way with HIV, discovered by or isolated, so-called isolated by Luc Montagnier. There was no intermediate species. Naturally apparent. So this humanized mouse are precisely the product of genetic engineering, and on the level of genetic engineering, you could clearly see that it was genetically engineered. So the signature of genetic engineering was inside the nucleotide signature. This is what it is. So so this event, right, so the so-called 201 or COVID-19 event, gives us an opportunity to rethink the genetic engineering. So we should understand that this so-called pandemic was the mass or global infection of humans with HIV, human immunodeficiency virus. And this weakened the humankind. And humans should undertake specific actions to get rid of HIV in their system. This is what it is. So no, treatment which is offered right now on the global market is actually efficient enough to deal with the effect of the destructive RNA interference. So we need to get rid of superfluous nucleotides in your system. So, and there are specific ways of how we can do it. And all the treatments right now on the market are insufficient. So let's start with the blood-brain barrier. So after the specific time after the infection, which is 3 weeks, if you don't take oral medication for this so-called virus during 3 weeks after the infection. You cannot take oral medication when this time elapses. So you need to take only intravenous treatment, which passes the blood-brain barrier, because in our body, the molecules are large, and in our brain, the molecules are small. So you need to use intravenous treatment. That's first of all. And secondly, we are 93% energy and 7% particles. If you take only medication based upon particles, physical matter, you will not reach the 93% of who you are. So you need to take care of both sides for your physical body and for your wave signature, for your wave manifestation. And there are specific ways of how you can do it. You cannot just use waves, the same way you cannot just go and eat anybody outside, any nucleotides lying around, dirt on the streets and bark on the trees. So you need to use food which has specific crystalline structure. The same way is with waves. You cannot just use frequencies, you see, because frequencies, they are also used for electrophoresis, to use in genetic modification. So in genetic modification, they use waves to destroy DNA in order that after DNA breaks, you can make inserts into the DNA. So just frequencies will not do. So you should actually avoid linear external signals, because at some point of intensity, they would break your DNA. So not just any frequencies. You need to use waves and frequencies in a very specific way. And this way is called bioholography, which I introduced today. And second thing we should understand about this pandemic, so-called pandemics or event 201, is that this event was used not simply to weaken the humankind for some political agenda, sustainable development 2030, depopulation, and etc., class struggle, elimination of class competitors or national competitors, racial competitors, etc. We need to understand that this pandemics was also used to introduce mRNA system, medication. So to introduce CRISPR-Cas9 as the way to deal with any disease, with cancer, infertility, etc., and etc. So this pandemics was the way to roll out mRNA technology, to roll out the genetic modification. And our goal right now is not simply to deal with the physical consequences of these pandemics, to cure ourselves from these homologous RNAs, superfluous RNAs, which destroy our structure of chromosomes, and to correct the structural damage of our chromosomes. Our goal is to fight against this paradigm that was supposed to be rolled out, mRNA vaccines. Because when they would, let's say they would not do it, right? But had they started treating humans with this technology, they would cause mass depopulation, mass cancers, mass sterilization, and mass prion disease. And the zombie apocalypse will surely come sooner than later. So we should fight against application of CRISPR-Cas9 in medicine. And CRISPR-Cas9 is precisely the genetic modification which is not precise and is based upon precisely the same model. They use the bacteria, the toxin from bacteria, Streptococcus pyogenes. So they use bacteria, which is dangerous and toxic. So they use toxin from bacteria, Streptococcus pyogenes, in order to destroy your DNA. And then they insert Via homology, you see, via homology, they made insertions. And these insertions, what they do, they silence genes. So they say to you, oh, well, your baby, would have brown eyes, right? But we can make them blue, right? Let them make your baby's eye blue, right? But in fact, what they're doing, they destroy the precisely calibrated structure of your chromosomes, and they silence your genes. And when they silence your genes, you get all kinds of physical deficiencies, malfunctions, and specifically you get sterilization. You are sterilized. And this is basically the plan to divide the humankind into two castes. First caste will be humans who will be capable of childbirth, the high caste, the slave owners. And the second caste would be cyber slaves or cyborgs who will be sterilized. And based upon this fact that they are sterilized, they are incapable of giving birth, they will be considered to be inhuman. So just humanoid beings. And because they're humanoid beings, they will be deprived of any constitutional rights and any social protection, welfare, any social help, any social protection, pensions, vacations, 8-hour working day, money, property. That's why WEF, World Economic Forum, speaking head Klaus Schwab says that you will own nothing and be happy. Why? Because these humanoid slaves will be considered not slaves, and there is this agreement about protection the biodiversity. So these humanoids will be considered genetically modified organisms, and to protect biological diversity, these humanoid slaves, genetically modified slaves, would be denied crossing the national borders, the borders. They will live in 15-minute cities. Why? Because they are dangerous. In United States, where they use genetically modified crops, they get the genetic contamination of the territory by cross-pollination, by the contamination of animal manure, manure, by the contamination of the groundwaters. So if one farmer gets the genetically modified corn on his farm, the neighboring farm also gets contaminated with the genetically modified corn. And genetically modified organisms are sterile. So any free existence of the genetically modified organism will be considered to be dangerous to other living beings. Humans who are genetically modified would be considered would be considered dangerous to the life of insects, birds, rats, and foxes, dogs, and cats. And that's why they would be confined to the 15-minute cities. So this is the gist of the 15-minute cities. So they wouldn't be allowed out beyond the protective perimeter because they're dangerous to other human beings and to the other living beings like plants, trees, insects, and etc. So and they would be considered to be property of the corporation which got this nucleotide sequence patented. So in United States, it is already allowed to patent the genetically modified organisms. So all these humans who got genetically modified would be patented as a property of specific corporation. And this specific corporation would be first of all, the Melinda and Bill Gates Foundation and their corporate entities. So this is not fatalic. We can avoid this, and we can avoid this via precisely dissolving the superfluous nucleotides. We destroy our DNA signature. We should change the signature of our DNA, and we can change it only by specific protocol. And this protocol precisely is based upon bioholography. So to avoid the genetic collapse and to get rid of this paradigm of global sterilization, of destruction of human species, we should urgently create this protocol, and to get the culprits responsible, to get them to the courts, to make this public, and to deliver this knowledge to global community. So specifically to avoid the zombie apocalypse, the mass prion disease. So the solution is the remote holographic drug delivery, the reversal of the structural damage of chromosomes, and the restoration of the human chromosomes to their correct geometry. So humans, as I said, for 93% energy and for 7% particles. So we are water for 85%, but this water is only 7% of who we are. And we need to restore the structural coherence of the water crystal media. We need to restore the structural coherence of the wave crystal media. So this 93% of who we are, wave nature, is the crystal, wave crystal media, and 7% of who we are is the liquid crystal media. And the point is that during the cell division, our intracellular liquid media literally crystallizes, forming two chromatids. So chromatin forms two chromatids, and these two chromatids form a chromosome. And this corresponds in the energy realm to the formation of the wave crystal. This is the point. So we have the liquid crystal and the wave crystal. And as I said, I have formulated this theory of wave crystal in 1985. And this wave crystal is the refractive length, which is built by the scalar wave. And not just scalar wave, but by the scalar wave diffraction grating. And I was the first scientist in the world who had offered the interpretation of bioholograms precisely as the structural nature of the signal. And the structural nature of the signal precisely the scalar wave, and not simply as a scalar wave, but by the scalar wave diffraction grating. So between cell division cycles, as I said, chromatin exists in the non-coherent state. And during cell division, chromatin gets literally crystallized, forming two chromatids, which form a chromosome. And depending upon the structure of this chromosome, the cell divides either correctly or incorrectly. So the chromosome consists of two chromatids, and they are combined together in the X form. They intersect in the centromere, where they exchange their genetic information. And the same gene gets expressed in the functional individuals and species by the metacentric chromosome, which is analogous to the well-centered and well-focused eye crystal, which is analogous to the equal-sided cross. This is, by the way, the reason of why it is suppressed right now. And the same gene gets expressed in the dysfunctional individuals and species by acrocentric chromosome, which is literally the half of the metacentric chromosome, and which is analogous to the far-sighted or near-sighted eye out of focus. So the same gene gets expressed in the dysfunctional species like monkeys by the acrocentric chromosome, and the same gene gets expressed in the more functional species like humans via metacentric chromosome. The same gene gets expressed in the domesticated horses, which are superior in their physical strength and intellectual ability to get tamed and to get some skills. And the same gene gets expressed in the wild horses, which are analogous to donkeys via acrocentric chromosome. The same gene gets expressed via metacentric chromosome in the normal children, and the same gene gets expressed via acrocentric chromosome in the children with Down syndrome. And children with Down syndrome get extra acrocentric chromosome. So the specific geometry of chromosome determines how your cell divides. So if you get destroyed chromosome or structural damage on chromosome, you get your cells dividing incorrectly, and you get all kinds of malfunction, and finally sterilization and prion disease. And prions, as I said, are proteins with destroyed crystalline structure, and this destroyed crystalline structure causes mental deterioration, extreme mental deterioration, encephalitis, or the extreme case of encephalopathy, when people literally get crazy, get mad. And the healing and regeneration happens only when our brain is in a theta rhythm state. And theta rhythm state is precisely the state of the deep trance, which is the scalar wave and the scalar wave diffraction grating. And I will introduce scalar wave right now. And because the female gender chromosome is metacentric, female is capable of giving birth. And because male gender chromosome, Y chromosome, so female has X from gender chromosome, metacentric chromosome. And because males have acrocentric chromosome, Y chromosome, they're incapable of giving birth. And males live much shorter than females, and they were much more sick with COVID-19 precisely because their chromosome is dysfunctional. And evidently, male chromosome got emerged from a female chromosome, not Eve from the rib of Adam, but Adam from the rib of Eve. So female chromosome is metacentric, regenerative, and functional. And male chromosome, gender chromosome, is acrocentric, degenerative, and dysfunctional. So every man should have a wife, and every man should have a daughter. Daughter has one chromosome from her mother and one chromosome from her father. And in quantum non-locality, the structures with the same refraction of wave optics constitute one and the same systematic whole. So the daughter for her father is the generator of the regeneration and rejuvenation, clear vision, because she literally remotely corrects the structure of her father's chromosomes during cell division. So structural coherence of the chromosomes are structural coherence of the chromosome is the physical shape, its physical shape for 7%, and its wave optics of the scalar wave diffraction grating with a properly centered and focused refraction towards the zero center of the focus of the wave crystal for 93%. So we need to take care of the wave optics. And I was the first scientist who offered this fundamental theory of wave optics of chromosomes. So bioholograms are not just images. Bioholograms are the structural level of any signal. And this structural level is precisely the scalar wave. So in mental activity is expressed by this quality is expressed by theta brain, theta rhythms of the brain.
Irene, if you have some pictures you want to show us, because now you're reading from your pictures.
I'm on the phone, so
Okay.
you
Okay.
need to use your imagination. So,
Yeah. Okay.
chromosome is a wave crystal with certain wave optics. So it's literally a lens which has some specific refraction in the scalar wave diffraction grating. And depending upon this refraction, upon the quality of this geometry, so geometrical wave optics, and based upon this geometry, the cell divides correctly or incorrectly. The genes get expressed correctly or incorrectly. So you get an animal or you get a human. You get sterilized or you get fertile. You get a male or you get a female. And you need to correct the lens so that it gets correct refraction of its wave optics. So we need to understand the level of crystallization, of how chromatin crystallizes to get your proteins divide, your cells divide correctly and correct this geometry. So the crystallization is precisely the emergence of the bioholographic quality. This is what it is. And I was first who spoke of how this crystallization happens. And after we understand how it happens, we can correct it. So how it happens? So first stage is the stage of the destructive and constructive wave interference. So the world is 93% energy, right? And it's only 7% particles. So we get these waves going from everywhere, right? We get this 5G, we get the signals from other humans, from our neighbors, from our children, from any substance that we consume. We get waves. So from food we consume, we first of all get waves, and then after that we get other stuff, right? So first we get these signals, which are linear signals, frequencies with certain wavelengths and certain frequency, right, of this peaks and troughs of the wave, peak and troughs. So we get polarization because of the change of spin. So these waves are in fact torsions, and they change their spin naturally. So like this go this direction and then the opposite direction. And because of the change of the spin, which happens when the charge, positive or negative charge, meet each other. So positive charges repulse each other and negative charge gets attracted to the positive charge. Because the wave gets introduced to the other charge, it changes its spin. And because of the spin change, you get polarization. Polarization means that we get another charge on the some points of the wave. And because of this polarization, right, the wave gets reflected back upon itself. So this is the second stage of the crystallization. So we get a reflection of the wave back upon itself. And because the wave gets reflected back upon itself, we get the scalar wave. And the scalar wave annuls any external linear signal when the peak of the forward-going wave is annulled by the truth of the same wave when the wave gets reflected back upon itself, like the number 8, like this. So scalar wave annuls any linear signal. This is the point of this when we get theta brain wave state, theta rhythm in your brain. It is deep trance of a nullification of any external signal. So in this state, we get a scalar wave in your brain. When any linear signal gets annulled by the trough of when the peak of the forward-going wave is annulled by the trough of the same wave when the wave is reflected back upon itself. Yes, precisely. So that is why our brain needs two signals incoming from opposite sides, That is why human gets 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 lungs, 2 ovaries, 2 testicles, and every organ also has 2 major parts, precisely because the brain needs to have 2 opposite signals which would help the brain form the scalar wave. That is why any therapy, like even massage, even you get regular massage, would be more effective when you have two specialists who massage you from 2 sides. For example, one person is giving you a massage of the left leg, and the other person at the same time, very same time, gives you massage of the right leg. So if you have the left leg damaged and you get massage on the left leg, which is damaged, right? It would be much more effective if you massage 2 legs at the same time. And this mirror effect is actually proven to be therapeutic by Japanese scientists who introduced the mirrors precisely in the hospitals for people with amputated legs. They introduce the mirror, and when the person is seeing in the mirror 2 legs, so one leg which is still present and the other leg which is amputated but substituted by the mirror image in the mirror, the person gets rid of these phantom pains. So it is proven scientifically that for the scalar wave you need 2 signals for the same organ, 2 signals coming from the opposite sides. So all my devices that I sell, they are based upon this mirror principle. And I in fact use the mirror, concave mirror, in my medical bag. Nobody uses it because not so many people understand this principle. So they don't understand this principle. That's why the construction of the medical beds is completely and totally incorrect. For example, Garyaev made his medical bed the same as Reich, by the way, is a coffin which is covered with the steel, metal. That's it. But the coffin, the box, this rectangular box, does not have the geometry is not the generator of the form. You need the generator of the form. This is the scientific notion. You need the generator of the form to correct the form or the geometry of your chromosome, you see? And you need a mirror principle in the generator of the form. It should be specific generator of the form. And this principle is also called the spatial translational symmetry principle. So, for example, the prions, they destroy the spatial translational symmetry in your body basically by the principle of resonance. And to get rid of prions, you need to restore the spatial translational symmetry, which is precisely the scalar wave. The bioholographic nature of your DNA, because your DNA is a scalar wave. It consists of 2 strands, scientifically proven based upon chemical electricity. One strand goes one way electrically, and the opposite strand goes in the opposite way. And only when the DNA gets in the theta rhythm, like your brain, right, the rhythm of the scalar wave, you get the most productive cell division, the most productive regeneration, the most productive fertility. So you produce better children, they live longer, they have better mental abilities, you are more productive, you don't get sick with any kind of incoherent linear signals which are causing the destruction of your DNA. So in electron microscopy, RNA appears to be the simultaneous torsions. It was actually introduced by Jennifer Doudna. In one of her presentations, she said that she was finally, at some point of her career, taken to the laboratory, to the electrical microscope. And she saw the electrical microscope and CRISPR-Cas9 applied to the cell. And she looked into this microscope and she saw what the CRISPR-Cas9, this system did to the cell. And she said that she looked in the microscope and saw that RNAs are simultaneous torsions across the cell. And when they applied the CRISPR-Cas9, the torsions got extinguished, so the lights and music got off. So she saw that it literally did not work. So CRISPR-Cas9 caused the extinction of light and life in the cell. So these RNAs are precisely the inductive coils which receive this linear external signals, and they receive different signals by changing the step of their frequency, you see. So the coil gets widened and narrowed. When it's widened, it receives longer waves. When it's shortens, it receives shorter waves. And then DNA gets these signals and announces it in the scalar wave. And when DNA produces the scalar wave gets scaled. And I was also the first scientist who had offered this notion of the scaling of the scalar wave. What this means? It means that every segment of the scalar wave itself becomes a scalar wave. So you get this big scalar wave, then each segment gets scalar wave, and then short, small and small and smaller. So this means that the signal gets refracted towards the center of this emerging wave crystal. So this is precisely the wave crystal with refraction, with certain wave optics. And this center of this wave crystal is called in quantum physics the zero center, or the focus of the wave crystal. And this zero center is one and the same for galaxy and chromosome. And it is the entrance or the portal into the quantum non-locality or zero field, which does not have space and time. So each entity, or rather two entities which have exactly the same refraction code, constitute one in the same systematic whole in the quantum non-locality. So if you have two copies of the same matrix with the same refraction code, in the quantum non-locality, they are one and the same entity, one and the same systematic whole. And you can transmit information from one entity to the other entity, one copy to the other copy, remotely and instantaneously. So this is the point of the remote bioholography, and it works at close range and long range. So our ancestors, in fact, used this technology for millennia. So my company simply had offered the modern reading of this technology, but our ancestors used it for millennia. So if you take the electret, which is the polymer crystal of the plant origin, mineral origin, organic origin, inorganic origin, natural or artificial. And if you, during this transition from the liquid crystal state into the solid crystal state, if you apply to this electret the procedure of bioholography, you can encode the electret with a specific refraction code. So our ancestors in Russian Orthodox churches use it all the time. So they get electrets, for example, wax candles. And during making the production of the wax candle, they pray. So they encode the prayer into the wax, which is the paradigmatic electret. And when the believer burns this wax candle in the church, he gets precisely not simply healed by the tetrapole crystalline structure of the electret, which is healing on its own, right? But he gets also the prayer, which makes this healing nature of the electret much more efficient. So I will give you an example. In Crimea, we have many plants which produce electrets, which are resins. From plants, we get resins, right? So during the Crimean War, when French and British attacked Russian Crimea in 1853 and 1856, something like this. So we had the famous surgeon Pirogov, and he said that you can perform the open surgeries in 5 meters radius around the Crimean juniper, because Crimean juniper produces this resin, which is electret. And this electret produces a scalar wave, which nullifies any linear external signals of viruses or bacteria. So Crimean juniper sterilizes the air around itself of 10 meters. And the wife of Russian Emperor Nicholas II got healed from tuberculosis in Crimea because of this quality of the air. So our ancestors used electrodes in liquid crystal form. That's why we have this notion of God-anointed kings, or to anoint for the kingdom. Also, when people got married in the Russian Orthodox Church, they were anointing with the frankincense. Then our ancestors used frankincense in the aerosol crystal form, burning frankincense in the church, and then and still are burning frankincense, and then they were using frankincense in the solid crystal form. Every Russian, before the Russian Revolution, Bolshevik Revolution of 1917, was wearing ladanka. Ladan is a Russian word for frankincense. So they were wearing crosses. Cross is the Russian, true Russian Orthodox cross is, or swastika is also Russian Orthodox cross, or the form without shoulders. Equal sided cross is the form of the metacentric chromosome. Or when you cross yourself in the church like this, right? You basically create this wave structure of the metacentric chromosome, literally treating your chromosomes, you see. So when you go to the church and pray and go into the theta rhythm state, or getting your beats, right? Your beats with the prayer, you also get into this theta rhythm state, right? Also these cupolas, domes, and cupola formed shaped ceilings of Russian Orthodox churches create the scalar wave, and the bells create the scalar waves. Even this singing Nepalese bowls, you can use them also, or Nepalese bells. So our ancestors used this electric technology for millennia, and they used the churches as generators of the form. So both the church and the electret and ladanka, ladan is the Russian word for frankincense, are generators of the form. Large generators of the form and small generators of the form. So I also produce large generators of the form, which are a sarcophagus of Ra, or Ra sarcophagus, and the small generators of the form, which are electrodes that I produce. And I produce them with laser. And only laser produces the coherent signal. And coherent signal is the signal which preserves its frequency stable. So in the Ra sarcophagus, I use green laser. And for the production of the electrodes, I use red laser. Red laser is more powerful than green laser. And you need to get 3 principles to produce bioholographic quality of treatment. First, you need the signal, which external linear signal, which is coherent, that is, it has its frequency stable. Then you need to have a resonator, which corresponds with its size to the wavelength or frequency of the trigger signal. And this means that you get a resonator, the generator of the form, which literally creates the scalar wave, which is capable of reflecting the wave back upon itself. So this is the second principle. And the third principle, you need this trigger signal to be consistently or enough elongated, enough lingering in time to have this scalar wave scaled. So you need the scaling of the scalar wave. That is why the best shape of the generator of the form is the shape of the domes of the Russian Orthodox churches, which are like onions. So unfortunately, I was not able, it was technologically more difficult, but this shape also has the half egg shape, also has two parts, but the onion shape has them more pronounced. What this means? This means that you need to have two parts of the generator of the form. The first part gets the signal annulled in the scalar wave. It is a spherical part. And so it gets a signal reflected back upon itself and annulled in the scalar wave. When the peak of the forward-going wave is annulled by the trough of the same wave when the wave is reflected back upon itself. Also, you need to have the second part of the generator of the form, which is the pyramid part of the onion. And the pyramid part of the onion is needed for the amplification of the signal, because otherwise you get the signal nullified. You see, that's it. So it is nullified and that's it. So the point of the, for example, the emergence of the human civilization on this planet, it could not have emerged in Africa, simply because the equator has the geophysical anomaly. When the two torsions, magnetic torsions from the North Pole and South Pole get annulled at the equator, and it is a very well-known phenomenon. There is no gravitation at the equator. It's a very strange, beautiful phenomenon. So people get into trance, at the equator. The liquid crystal media of their brains literally gets annulled. So it's they literally get stupor, mental stupor, mental deterioration. So magnetism literally disappears out of their brains. So they are not capable of thinking clearly and get deteriorated with time. So that's why our ancestors got Africans, they elongated their forests and elongated many forests in Africa. So this actually saved Africans, they saved Africans basically. So that's why, for example, the foreign minister of South Africa has this very, very high forehead. And the high forehead in Russian should be 7 fingers. 5 fingers and 2 more fingers to be correct for it. So no civilization could have, yes, your forehead is correct, could have emerged in Africa. It could have emerged only in the North Polar areas of Russia, where we have this dome effect of ionosphere. But most importantly, we have the night of the gods and the day of the gods, which are described in the Vedas, in Rig Veda, the most ancient Veda. So the night of the gods is night for 6 months, and the day of the gods is the day for 6 months without darkness. And only this consistent signal could have preserved the sanity of humans. You see, after the last global war, which is described in the Vedas as the high technological war with the usage of the psychotronic, the gravitational, laser, plasma, and nuclear weapons. It is all described in the Vedas. So, returning to the bioholography of the wave genome. So we have the lenses. And these lenses are produced by the generators of the form. And if we have the electret, which is coded on nano level with laser, with the biohologram of the client, which is read by the laser and recorded digitally, right? We can correct the structure of client's chromosomes during cell division remotely and instantaneously. Because, as I said, in the quantum locality, these two entities are one and the same systematic whole. Because in quantum non-locality, there is no time and space, and entities with the same refraction code constitute one and the same entity. So that's why our ancestors were wearing ladanka. You see, they were wearing frankincense in the egg-shaped pendants. And they were when they were making these pendants, they were praying for themselves, for their relatives, in this way encoding this electorate with the code, with the refraction code of their family, you see? And it was curing them. Laser simply creates a more advanced, a more technologically efficient way of producing ladanka, which our ancestors used all the time. Every Russian man before revolution was wearing ladanka. And if you look at Nepal, people still wearing these pendants with the electrodes inside the pendant. They still use anointment, you see. They still drink electrodes, and all natural medicine based upon electrodes. So when Judy Mikovits, right, famous virologist, is saying to you, use essential oils, you see, and she's using herself essential oils. He doesn't tell you why you should use essential oils, and you should use essential oils because they're electrodes, tetrapole, not dipole. Dipole are two poles, magnetic poles. Tetrapole crystal, which corrects the structure of your chromosome, which is also a tetrapole crystal. And your DNA, which is also a tetrapole crystal, specifically during the cell division. Not all the time, but during cell division, you get crystallization, both on the liquid crystal media and on the wave crystal media levels. So again, the bioholography is about structure, the structural level of the signal. And I have formulated in 2012 the implication of the holographic principle. The holographic principle states that the universe is entirely in its every matrix point. So the entire universe is in me, and the entire universe is in VVN. And the implication of the holographic principle states that if the universe is entirely in its every matrix point, then every matrix point is not simply different from any other matrix point, but is unique. So I'm a unique infinity and eternity, and VVN is a unique and infinite eternity. And we differ from each other only by refraction code. And this refraction code is not changeable, it is eternal. So that's why we, in religion, in Russian Orthodoxy, we are called eternal souls. And these eternal souls are not precisely humanoid, these are divine souls. And we exist in eternity, and nobody would be able to destroy us ever. And in this sense, there is no death. And the universe is precisely also the scalar wave. So both the chromosome and the galaxy has the same structure, like a sandglass. And the universe, the galaxy, and the chromosome go along the same path of birth, death, and regeneration. Like a sandglass, the soul gets through the very narrow point of the sandglass, right? And the galaxy the same. So there was no Big Bang, right? So the galaxy got to this side and then back to the other side. In Russian, we say this light and the other light. So literally, на этом свете и на том свете. So on this light and on this and the other light. So when we die, we simply go to the other light. The same as with galaxy. So it appears, expresses itself in this dimension, and it goes then to the other dimension, and there is nothing else because we are infinite. So all people who are saying or talking about these aliens, alien ships, reptilians, they're simply ignorant fools who are incapable of grasping quantum physics, you see. So in this sense, the geocentric paradigm of our ancestors was completely correct. So when you stand on the bank of the river or the ocean or the lake, you see this path of light from sun to you, right? Specifically to you individually, but every person on the same bank of the river, right, sees the same road of light going specifically to him or to her. But refraction of the eye is different for everyone who is standing on this bank of the sea and the ocean. So that's why we need to develop bioholography to stop this black operation, psyop, of this fake alien invasion, which is completely and totally laughable. You see, we need to apply our physical, financial, and spiritual resources to true science, to make us really capable of going to other dimensions, which will be possible only when we get noosphere of this joint field of people with the correct wave optics of their chromosomes, because it is not about only cell division. It is about mind, because our brain also consists of chromosomes, and if our chromosomes is destroyed, they're destroyed also in the brain. And if if chromosomes are destroyed, you are incapable of thinking clearly. And to think clearly, you need to restore the wave optics of your chromosomes. You need to restore the scale of waves, the scale of wave diffraction grating, the refraction of the wave optics during your cell division. So the gene therapy should be based only on bioholography. It should not be based upon introduction of superfluous nucleotides. You see, even if they are your own nucleotides. So if you take your own nucleotides and reintroduce into your system, you get death, as it is proven, as I said, by the Nobel Prize of 2006 for Andrew Fire and Craig Mello, who took the RNA from C. elegans worm and had reintroduced this RNA into the worm, and the worm died. So gene therapy should be based not upon introduction of superfluous extra nucleotides. It should be based upon autophagy, first of all. So autophagy is self-eating. So that's why our ancestors were fasting. So it is the very important part of Russian Orthodoxy when you fast. You see, you need to fast. So you need to fast to make your system get rid of extra nucleotides. And our ancestors created the entire system of how to avoid the effect of the destructive RNA interference. So they had banned cannibalism, consumption of human blood, because consumption of human blood, cannibalism, is the paradigmatic case of the destructive RNA interference. So, for example, people who live in New Guinea, who are cannibals, they get Kuru disease. And Kuru disease is a prion disease. So it is the extreme case of encephalopathy. So this is the proof that cannibalism, even a small consumption of adrenochrome, it causes mental deterioration. And it is proven that the consumption of adrenochrome causes schizophrenia. It is proven scientifically. Also, our ancestors have banned incest, because sex with your relatives, your children or your close relatives, also is the paradigmatic case of the destructive RNA interference. Also, they banned consumption of pork, because nucleotides in swine, in pigs, are very close to human nucleotides. That's why experiments, clinical trials of drugs first are done on rats, then on monkeys, and then on swine. So you should never consume pork. Also, our ancestors have banned homosexuality, because again, sex between two alike biological specimens are more likely to produce the effect of the destructive RNA interference. Also, they have banned casual sex, you see, precisely because of this. Also, they even put restraints upon heterosexual monogamous sex, because even heterosexual monogamous sex should be restrained to avoid the excessive destructive RNA interference. So it should be restrained by childbirth and religious rituals. Even moral dogmas of our society are based upon scalar waves. Never do anything to others which you do not want to be done to yourself. It is precisely the boomerang principle of the scalar wave. So I have introduced the other notion describing the remote bioholography, and it is the quantum instead of quantum entanglement, I introduced the notion of refraction entanglement. So quantum is a very vague term, you see, and we should avoid it. For example, Garyaev used the notion of structural phantom, you see, or the notion of homonymy. DNA is not homonymous. It is very precise. And homonymy means that one word can have one meaning in one context and another meaning in another context. Also, Garyaev had used the notion of linguistics applied towards wave genetics. It is also very imprecise because in the English language, the words do not have the endings, the suffixes, and conjugation. See, and that's why we have very strict word order in English sentences, right? Subject, predicate, and etc. In Russian language, we have endings and suffixes. That's why we can construct this sentence in a very different manner. You see, we can switch words between each other. And Garyaev never spoke about it. So it is not homonymy, it's precisely refraction, which is in language, is expressed by endings and suffixes. And these endings and suffixes is precisely this junk DNA, which constitutes 98% of our DNA. So in genetics, they decoded only 2%, and they had called the other DNA junk DNA. But Garyaev never explained how this junk DNA is actually functioning as linguistics, you see. But the explanation is precisely the scientific explanation. We don't use metaphors in science. So instead of structural phantoms, we need to use specific scientific term of refraction, you see, of wave optics. Very simple, very clear, you see. Instead of quantum entanglement, we need to use very precise notion of refraction entanglement. This means that when we have two copies with exactly calibrated wave optics, in quantum null locality, they constitute one and the same entity, and information is transmitted instantaneously and remotely from one entity to the other entity. And this explains the remote quality of the scalar waves. So when you get a scalar wave, you can change the future and the past. That is why the pseudo-elites, right? They're not elites, they're pseudo-elites who destroy even people with the same haplogroup, you see. So, for example, Jews, so-called, right? They have the same haplogroup as Russians. R1A1 Levites have the same haplogroup. So when they destroy us, Russians, they destroy themselves, because in quantum null locality, we are one and the same entity, you see. So they don't understand. So we need to restore the quality of our DNA, and we need to restore the community, you see, of people with the same refraction code. So to save Israel, we need to save Russia, and to save Russia, we need to save Israel. You see, so if these people destroy RNA, DNA structure in people with the same haplogroup, they simply destroy themselves. You see, they're simple as that. And if we get more people with the same DNA, RNA refraction, we increase the coherence of this dimension. We elevate it out of chaos, and everybody benefits. You see, so that's why in Russia there was this phenomenon of cosmology. There was the scientist Fedorov who offered this notion of inhabiting other planets. So the rockets were created by Russians precisely to accommodate the concept of Fedorov to inhabit other planets, because we need many people, you see, as many people as possible. So this notion of
Irene,
wrong. Yes.
Irene, I can listen to you for hours, You have so many subjects. So if you start with cosmology also, wow, then we need really to have another evening with you. And now we have shared in the chat. I have tried to make notes. You have so much knowledge and so much insight, and it's so interesting, and you are crossing everything. And we are very enthusiastic about everything you're talking. So we have to invite you more times to come into our room. And I think I have to open for questions, because we have put like a 2-hour time limit and have some messages also for the participants tonight.
Can I just complete with the conclusion? Two sentences.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, so my company, Wave Genome LLC, is producing large-size generators of the form, which are Ras sarcophagus, which is the only medbed in the world, the first and the only medbed in the world, which is based upon wave optics of concave lenses, 2 concave lenses exactly calibrated. That's why the information gets transmitted remotely instantaneously from one lens towards the other lens. And we have modulations as refraction, which is overlaid over the scalar wave diffraction grating created by the green laser in one of the concave lenses, which is a mirror lens. Secondly, my company produces electrodes, which are precisely like our ancient Lagranges, egg-shaped, which is proven by millennia as the best shape. Die Glock in Germany of the Second World War, they tried to the same shape, which is proven to be the best shape as the generator of the form, with the electrode inside, multi-layered, encoded with the client's unique biohologram. And also my company produces a digital bioholographic pharmacy, and my company was the first company in the world which offered to the global market precisely the bioholographic digital pharmacies. Thank you very much for your attention.
It is fantastic. And I really hope that we can have an opportunity to put your technology into one of our health centers in Norway and all everywhere in Europe and at any other markets. So we have a big discussion this weekend about health hubs with Dolores Cahill. She's in the front of the Global Alliance of Doctors, and we are looking for good solutions always to give advice, and so more people can be curious about new technology, because we are in the big time of paradigm, and we are taking back the knowledge that our ancestors had the knowledge about, but we have to have it explained and results to be references from the treatment, from the technology. So we are really looking forward to have you in this room later on, but now I will open for questions. Is there someone that have a question? En noen som har spørsmål? You're welcome. Yeah, Bård, you're welcome.
Yes, I have a question. If I can take you back here, Irene, to near the start of your lecture. So you were talking about this virus being the HIV virus, yes, and then we moved to the COVID-19 vaccines. So what I wonder is, did this or does this HIV virus materialize in the virus, or was there a virus at all, or is it in your experience, in your field, does it also stem from the vaccines?
Absolutely. So vaccines are basically the infection of humans with HIV, nothing else, straight into your bloodstream. So you should avoid vaccines at any cost, both mRNA vaccines and adenovirus 5 based virus vector vaccines. So so-called Oxford vaccines, which are Chinese, Russian, and British vaccines, Australian vaccines, and American mRNA vaccines. So both of these vaccines, they have different platforms, but both of them introduce HIV straight into your bloodstream. And if you want, I would give you the protocol of how to deal with it. Even without my technology, I can share with you. So you can effectively deal. There are ways to deal with it.
Yeah. That will be advantages for our audience, because more and more people are asking about this. They realize they've actually
yes.
been injected with something not good. But then, okay, so like I thought, the HIV is in what you get inoculated with, but the virus stemming from this gain of function activities that's has been going on for quite some time, which was moved from the US to the Wuhan lab in China, and what we all know all about. So this gain of function virus, was that also introducing HIV to the people being subjected to it?
Yes, precisely. But
yes.
there is the difference. You see, airborne HIV is not that strong as HIV, which is introduced straight into your bloodstream. You see, so the point of this pandemics was not to release the airborne AIDS or airborne HIV just on its own. The point of this pandemics was to roll out the HIV straight into your bloodstream via so-called vaccination. You see, this was the plan.
Yeah. Okay. So yes, you covered a bit about the virus never having been identified at all. Yeah. So what about the spread of this airborne HIV? Do you have any theories about how it could spread like it did over the globe? I mean, jumping more or less jumping from Wuhan in China to north of Italy and the parts of Spain and then to New York and which these locations, if I may add, has been pointed out as early implementations of 5G.
Well, you see, 5G on its own is also destroying DNA. It is analogous to the process of electrophoresis, which is one of the ways of how you produce the genetically modified organisms. So you can use a virus, you can use a bacterium, or you can use electrophoresis to destroy your DNA. And when your DNA is destroyed, you can make insertions. You see, alien insertions of the alien nucleotides into your DNA. You see? So 5G is the paradigmatic case of electrophoresis. So you should avoid 5G at any cost. You see? So you should not live in the areas with 5G. You should protect yourself from 5G in any ways you can. Paint, foil, you see, combination of foil with waxed paper, which is one of the patents in Russia. So any ways of how you can do it, you should do it, you see. But this pandemics was not caused only by 5G. So 5G and graphene are simply one of the sides of one of the facets of this multifaceted event, you see. So graphene on its own, right, cuts the blood vessels, causing the failure of organ failures, right? But it was not just graphene, or it wasn't just 5G. It was the complex chimeric event, you see. And the point, we need always to look for the money trail. You see, money, the smell of money, money, nana money, it's a money world, you see. So the money trail goes along the introduction of RNA vaccines, RNA therapy of CRISPR-Cas9 into medicine and making big money on CRISPR-Cas9. This is the point, you see, of the entire event, the money trail. Because the population, yes, it is very serious. It was one of the goals, and not just population, but addressed depopulation, because different batches of this vaccine, so-called vaccine, in the United States had different damage, had caused different level of damage, you see. Some batches was not that dangerous as other batches. So, you know, this James Bond last movie, you see, addressed murder, you see. So basically this is it. So we have different batches, and it goes, if it goes along the path of so-called digital medicine, right, when every person gets a digital identity, and if this digital identity is implanted as a chip, right, then you can use not only batches, different batches, but you can also specify, right, specify the deliverance of a specific toxin, right into your system, specifically for this person individually, right? So 5G was evidently used. It was also used as a psychotronic weapon, as a paradigm, ultimately for this deliverance of the electronic drugs, psychotronic drugs over 5G or Gwen towers, right? via HARP. So HARP is this system of satellites, a system of city lamps, from lamp to lamp, because it's a very high frequency. So you need, it has very short wavelength. So you need every device very close to each other, every city lamp, then every satellite. So they grid. That's why Elon Musk, honorable, you see, like humankind loving Elon Musk is now launching all the satellites precisely for this purpose, you see, to launch the psychotronic Skynet, not just surveillance, not just black operation kind of base, to have internet in any kind of military zone where is no above and beyond national infrastructure, telecommunication infrastructure, right? It's precisely about big money. You see, it's going to the other paradigm of electronic medicine, and electronic medicine being a psychotronic medicine. Individual, as they say, PPP, preventive, personalized, and I forgot the last P, preventive, private, preventive, personalized, PPP, medicine, which is electronic, psychotronic medicine. And then, of course, they use 5G right now, yes, to launch the system, to try it. But the point with this pandemic is that this system of psychotronic medicine is only in trials, you see? It's only in workings. And this virus is not 5G-based virus. It is done by very routine genetic modification for Dietrich, yes, on humanized mice. It was made public by 5 major virologists at this health committee meeting in June 2021 in Washington, D.C. You can watch this video on YouTube. It is a physical video. Yeah. I even saved it on my computer because it was hilarious. So they told you it is not 5G. It is precisely the very routine genetic modification of one virus, so-called virus, right? To make it two viruses, right, in one package. Chimeric.
Yes. So, sorry. About the 5G question, we are going to have a court trial on Friday, and and I think Borhi will be very interested to have even more arguments about this 5G connection. We also have some questions in the chat room. So there have been so much writing. One question.
Yeah, thank you, Irina. Great answer.
You're very welcome. Yeah, but how to deal with HIV? I mean, I would tell you, don't let me go without this. Very fair.
Okay. Then question, how is the Russian government meeting such wonderful healing tool creation?
How Russian government what?
Yes. How are your healing tools and your science technology, how are you met? Do you have a good cooperation with the authorities?
Yes, my Ra sarcophagus is right now located in the resort of the Russian Federation Ministry of Health in a very prestigious suburb of Moscow, west-south of Moscow. It's a very prestigious place. And this is the resort precisely for the workers of the Ministry of Health. It is a prestigious resort, and they have all kinds of innovative devices. So my Ra sarcophagus is there. So if you would like to visit and have a treatment, you can go and have treatment course at other devices, have have your stay at this resort. It's 3 times a day meals included, sauna, pool, and other stuff.
Very good. I think we have to make a Norwegian group to go there in the future, to plan to have some sessions so we can study it, and someone can join such a trip so we can learn much more. And more questions. Let's see. People that are vaccinated must live in smart cities because they are dangerous to nature and other humans. Who will and how does she know this? And who will run our societies? I think it was a very philosophical question. Yeah.
Well, everything that I said during my presentation, right, is evidence-based and science-based. So 15-minute cities are the plan of World Economic Forum. So you can go to their site and read all about it. And they, the so-called elites, right, of World Economic Forum, they had already started the implementation of this plan. So Milan, London, and a few other cities are already are already starting the process of getting transformed into the 15-minute cities. And in England, in the United Kingdom, Oxford was transformed into the 15-minute cities. This means that you cannot go out of the area which constitutes 15 minutes of walking. And there were rights already there. So you can go online to Google and Google it. You see, so it is very serious. So it all goes along the same program as Matrix movie. So there will be Matrix, which will be 15-minute city in their plans if they succeed. And then there will be this wild area, you see, which will be suppressed like Gaza Strip. You see, so it will be Gaza Strip and Matrix. In this sense, Matrix. It's a wrong name for this thing because Matrix is a mother notion. So they basically perverted this notion. It's not Matrix, but they called it Matrix, right? So Gaza Strip area with drones which kill any kind of resistance, right? And the workers which serve the Matrix, like Gaza Strip workers, they now they were working for the other area, like nice cities, right, in Israel, and they were living literally in the heavily surveilled concentration camp. So this is the paradigm for the entire humankind, for Norway. So Gaza Strip is not somewhere far away. It's a paradigm for Norwegian future. So to let you know, right?
Yes, we have had also discussion about smart cities, several meetings, and last weekend our friends in Ireland, they had a court trial about stopping smart city in Oxford. So, and the same people, they are coming to visit us in Norway this coming weekend. Is there some more questions that I oversaw? So please give me a signal. Bård, did you find some?
No, not really. Not really. I didn't look that hard, but
I think we have to invite Irene to come also another time because we are just on the same scholar wave as you, I guarantee. So we are a frontier resistance movement in Norway to work with this to enlighten people and to get out the knowledge and to make these innovations for change because it's really needed. And if Norway can, with a small population, to get rid of this globalist in the government, we are on the right path. And we are in a big hurry. Then Hjørdis, she had, Hjørdis, vær så god. She have a question? Hjørdis, du må unmute deg selv. Hallo, Hjørdis. No, maybe.
Hallo, hører man nå?
Ja, vær så god, da må du
Yeah.
snakke. Mm.
Hello, I just have a question about how to run this machine. Do you have to be a doctor or a nurse, or what kind of education do you need to operate your machine?
Well, Wave Genome LLC is an American company. And in the United States, we are not allowed to make any medical claims by FDA. So this is not a medical device. It is a wellness device which enhances your well-being and promotes regeneration and restoration of wave optics of your chromosomes. And you can run it yourself. It is not difficult. Simply, if you have some kind of knowledgeable nurse around, it will help, but you can run it even in your home. So the device is not dangerous for you. You are not subjected to the laser directly. So the laser creates the scalar wave in a concave lens. So you are not subjected to the laser directly. So you are subjected to the scalar wave, which is created by the laser. And scalar wave on its own annuls any linear signal, any linear external signal, which when amplified can be harmful to your DNA. So it's a very safe device, and green laser is a very safe laser. And again, it is not directed at you. And the procedure itself is simple. So you have the laser, you have the device, and you have the modulation devices attached. And modulation is produced by the digital holograms, which are introduced via virtual reality glasses and via audio files. So that's it basically. And in Moscow, we can make a digital biohologram of your stem cell. So you go to the Bauman State University, which is the largest, which is my partner. This is the largest and most important science university in Russia of MIT level. So you go to the, so you come, if you come for this treatment, right, on the Ras sarcophagus, you go to the Bauman, the Russian State University, they extract the specialists. So I'm not a medical doctor, right? So I am basically entrepreneur. So I'm not a medical specialist per se. So you go to the medical specialist, PhD in medicine, PhD in biology, and she extracts your epithelial cell out of your mouth with a swab. Then she extracts the stem cell out of your epithelial cell right in front of you. And then she uses a large, very expensive electronic microscope, right, to extract the stem cell. And then you see your stem cell right on the screen. And then it is taken to the laser specialist in the Bauman State University, who produce the biohologram of your stem cell. And they are the same specialists who produced the trajectories for the newly invented Russian middle-range missile caliber. So the classified research, the classified specialists. So they use mathematical models to produce this biohologram. And this biohologram then is used to modulate the scalar wave diffraction grating produced by the laser. So you can use the Ras sarcophagus on its own with a simple modulation, or you can use it. So you order your biohologram, which is read from your photograph, childhood photograph or adult photograph, by the laser. Or you can use it in advanced manner by ordering your biohologram of the stem cell. So this will be the more advanced level of usage. And for example, Gareev, right, he said that you can make a biohologram into a weapon. It is very wrong, because biohologram is a scalar wave which annuls any linear incoherent signal which is harmful, right? So this is why you can use either childhood photograph or adult photograph, it doesn't matter. You can use the childhood photograph when you were sick with smallpox, it doesn't matter, because the laser will correct the incoherence of the signal, because it is very coherent, you see.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, then we have gone over 2 hours limit. I think we have to invite you, Irina. It's so much you have to offer of knowledge, and it's so important that your information and your scientific work will reach out. And this Saturday, we are going to have this court trial, and we have several witnesses about one offer, one
victim. I don't know if we're gonna have a victim. I didn't hear anything from the victim, so
no,
I wouldn't be too specific with regards to the trial courts just now.
Yeah, we were supposed to, but we should have a victim. It's a lady about 45 years old. She couldn't stay near to 5G towers. She is extremely sensitive. So she is now moving out from any city, and she can't have even the mobile phone near to her because of the sensitivity for 5G. So she was going to be the victim. And then we have some witnesses to explain what is happening with her health, that she is damaged, she have got pain, she have got suffering, and she never wrote any contract with these globalists that made this 5G in her area. And we are trying to have like an educational project to make this court trial, to say that we, the people, we don't want to have this stuff in our villages and in our communities, as they tried to do in Oxford with a court trial over there last Sunday. So I think maybe, Bor, maybe you can be direct in contact with Irina, and if maybe she will have some more arguments that we can use in this learning process, because by learning we will be stronger, and then in each community to have small people court, that we want to have real health solution and real health hubs with good solutions, so people can become in harmony and balance again.
Yes, yes, of course. I was I was blown away about your lecture, actually, Irina. I didn't expect a fraction of that. I thought you were going to talk about these med beds. We heard about all this technology, but most certainly you must have touched every aspect of the both pre-pandemic, pandemic, and post-pandemic issues that we're facing. So very impressive. The trial courts Viviane is talking about is something that's underway. Yes, but I wouldn't pertain to make the trial more complicated than it needs to be, because it's not really about the theme of the case. Of course it is. We want to make it interesting. We want to make it real, but the theme is not as relevant as the training itself, the learning of how to convene and conduct these courts. So when we get back to the point of convening a real trial, a real common law courts as it's called, and we need some input of any kind, not only 5G. As I said, you touched in on a very wide variety of subjects. So you might just be the one-stop shop to go to get the depth of information that we may need at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah. So what is your what are your social social media details? Where can we find you? Where can people find you?
Yes, I have it all, so I can forward, so we don't use more time with small talk. Because we have a thank you, Irene, that you had. I know that you are extremely busy. You were sitting on the train yesterday from Kiev, and I'm really honored that you could use now 1 and 2.5 hours together with us tonight. And I really would love to invite you more, because the interest for your science and for your knowledge, it's very big. And I think, yeah, we will come back to you, because we are going to have this weekend mini expo and trial, and to discuss the further path in the future, how to organize ourselves. So maybe we will invite you to Norway to a big expo with your sarcophagus. Yeah. Everything is possible.
Thank you.
Yeah, and thank you for coming, and I'll keep in touch with you and Bor also.
Okay, thank you very much, and wish all of you health and success.
Yeah, and the same to you. We will manage.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hi guys. It's very late.
Yes, you are 1 hour later than us. Thank you, and see you. Bye.
Bye.
Ja. Ok, da går vi over til norsk. Nå har vi jo gått over tida, men jeg synes det var veldig viktig at vi fikk med oss mest mulig. Jeg er bare helt sjokkert at hun brukte så mye tid med oss, for da jeg snakket med henne her tidligere, så nei, hun hadde ikke mulighet, hun måtte vente til etter nytt. Så nå at, og hun satt liksom på toget i går fra Kiev, og da tenkte jeg, jeg klarer aldri å få med, men at hun har vært med oss helt til nå, det er helt fantastisk. Det viser bare at, og det virker som det her var veldig viktig for henne å få delt sin innsikt, og det her er jo akkurat det vi har holdt på med, og jobbet med i de her årene, å få frem informasjon, og da har vi plutselig en russisk forsker som er med og underbygger alle våre intuitive oppdagelser som digitale soldater, for det er det vi har vært hele veien.
Jeg vil jo bare jeg bryter inn. Jeg vil jo bare minne folk på at de deler sånne opptak som dette her, altså dele linken til Rumble-kanalen, spesielt på sånne program som dette her, hvor vi faktisk har hatt inne en av de virkelig store innenfor sitt felt. At man deler disse videolinkene, Rumble-linkene. Jeg var så snarest innom på noe av stoffet hennes, mens jeg satt og skrev denne invitasjonen, for å få litt peiling på hva det var for noen ting. som dere sikkert la merke til, så klarte jeg også å dra frem et par illustrasjoner mens hun snakket her. Veldig, veldig imponerende dame, og som vi vil si, brukte så lang tid på oss. Fantastisk.
Ja, jeg har hatt kontakt med henne i mange år.
Du har det, ja.
Så det en av mine mange års kontakter, for å si det sånn. Så ja, det her bare det ingenting som tilfeldig, men rett tid, rett sted og de rette ordene, så kan magiske ting skje. Og det akkurat det. Jeg føler vi har vært med å åpne noen ord som hun kom med fra sin munn, at det var ikke hun Vivian, men jeg bare en døråpner. For den tiden vi nødt å brette opp armene og gå arm i arm for å utvikle selv. Så bare begynn å tenke på, vil dere ha et healsenter i deres område, sakrofag, utviklet, basert på egen skalarbølge som du har i din egen DNA, eller skal det være noe som kanskje kan ha vært manipulert med gjennom andre teknologier som egentlig ikke harmoniserende. Vi har tusener av oppfinnelser som står i kø for å komme ut i menneskeheten i ly av Gesara Nesara. Men det ikke så mange som tror at det mulig, men muligheten ligger der hvis alle sammen slår sammen sine krefter og kjemper for den samme saken. Da kan vi klare å få det til. Så møtet i helga vil være en sånn samling for å samle kreftene, for at vi alle sammen skal kunne gå i riktig retning, tilbake til harmoni, balansering, der vi skal være i ett med moder jord, 7,83 hertz. Så enkelt kan det sies, men så vanskelig å komme dit. Så da det bare å gå inn og abonnere på hennes hjemmeside, Wave Genome. Nå har, jeg tror vi blant de første hun har vært intervjuet av, og hun ble veldig takknemlig. Det faktisk en militær hemmelighet enda, men hun har nå begynt å mykne opp, for å si det sånn. Og så det da han Bård som sier det om høringsfristen som går ut nå om 40 minutter. Vi har vært innom det så mange ganger at jeg tenkte det at skal vi ta det opp nå igjen? Men da får du, Bård, ta det videre.
Ja, altså det jo noe man gjør selv dette her. Vi har jobbet med dette før, og vi har vært på en måte online inne og lagt inn høringssvar for folk som satt med oss. Men dette jo en ting som enhver gjør selv. Det eneste som jeg ikke vil anbefale her, det at selvfølgelig at man skriver noe positivt om det de holder på med, for det det jo ikke. Men altså at man leverer et blankt høringssvar. For leverer man et blankt høringssvar, så blir det tatt inn som et positivt høringssvar. Så om man bare skriver nei, utropstegn, eller et eller annet sånn, så det et høringssvar som teller på den negative siden.
Hva var det høringen het igjen?
Skal vi se hvor...
Jeg har lagt den inn i chatten nå.
Flott, Einar. Der har vi han, ja. Han har en himla lang link, men den ligger nå i chatten, så kopier den. Så da det jo bare til å gå inn. Jeg vet ikke, skal vi se her. Skal vi bare gjøre det på strak arm, kanskje. Deler her. Nå gikk jeg altså ned her på den grønne som blir rød. Send en høringssvar. Og her kan man da skrive inn at Um, Oi, for en dårlig skriving. Da.
Da ser jeg jo Hjørdis har rekt opp hånda mens du
Ja.
skriver. Vær så god, Hjørdis.
Ja. Det var en dag jeg leste om denne høringen i steigan.no, og da tenkte jeg, skal jeg få gjort det, så må jeg bare gjøre det nå, så skanner jeg fort gjennom den, plukket ut noen setninger, og fikk sendt inn et svar. Det er ikke noe godt svar, men det er i hvert fall et svar, så hvis noen vil ha en tekst, så har jeg en tekst i hvert fall. Det
Kan du legge den
eneste,
rett inn i chatten?
ja, hvis jeg kan gjøre det, så det var også det jeg avsluttet med, da, som jeg var litt fornøyd med, og som kanskje kunne være en idé når hver gang det dukker opp sånne høringer, det er jeg skal bare finne den e-posten, eller høringssvaret mitt, da nemlig avsluttet jeg med å si som World Economic Forum, WEF, så klart har uttrykt det, you will own nothing and be happy. Og hvis vi begynner å bruke sånne uttrykk da, så kanskje er det også en sånn signal om at vi er faktisk ganske mange mennesker som vet hva de holder på med og har skjønt dette her. Så det
Ja.
var en idé da, å kanskje bruke disse her og begynne å få på dagsorden det de driver og planlegger rundt ryggen vår, eller bak ryggen vår.
Mm.
Skal vi se om jeg klarer bare å...
Her kommer han, Jon Erland med sitt høringssvar, skal vi se. Bare se om du finner ditt du, Hjørdis, så kan jeg ta og lese dette fra Jon Erland. Dette er fullstendig uhørt, å stjele privatpersoners eiendom, og sannsynligvis kaste ut de som allerede bor i disse private boligene, gir ingen mening. Da vil jo disse stå uten bolig og bli flyktninger i eget land. Strutsepolitikk. Målet må jo være at alle som kommer til Norge som flyktninger skal tilbake til sitt eget land så hurtig som mulig. Innsatsen må settes inn på å legge forholdene til rette i deres hjemland for at dette kan skje. Veldig godt sagt, Jon.
Det var jo mye bedre enn mitt da. Men,
Var det bedre enn ditt da?
Ja, mitt var litt for langt også, så jeg klarte ikke å legge det direkte inn i chatten. Men jeg synes jo det var mye bedre det han skrev, men man kan kanskje avslutte med da en sånn setning at you will own nothing and be happy. Som WEF sier, at dette liker vi ikke. Må vi se. Jeg klarer ikke å... Jeg må komme meg tilbake til... Hvordan å legge dokumenter rett i chatten.
Ja, det var ikke rett i chatten. Du trykker på det der dokument-vedlegg-symbolet nede ved siden av den smileyen. Ja, nå brukte jeg Jon sitt og så la jeg på noe selv.
Ok. Skal vi se.
Putte det inn I chatten, så kan folk bare jafse I det. Men
Ja.
videre,
Er det notes du kalte det? Nei.
ja, ja, finner du ikke det der
Nei.
dokumentvedlegg-greien?
Nei, jeg vet ikke hva det heter for noe. Dokument...
Altså, du har noen symboler nede. Du har jo
Ja.
den der smileyen, og så har du en sånn der save chat-greie, og så det et bilde av et dokument med en liten brett opp I høyre hjørne. Og det symbolet for oss å legge inn et dokument I chatten.
Det ikke sånn det ser ut.
Jeg har
en sånn
Jeg
liten...
fikk å kopiere den, men jeg la inn min kommentar. Jeg har lagt på både mor mi og meg og flere til. Jeg vil ikke leve I en sånn utrygghet, og ikke at andre skal bebo og besitte mine boliger, hverken nå eller I fremtiden. Og dette prosjektet You Will Own Nothing and Be Happy ren overkjøring av alle våre medfødte rettigheter og landets lover. Høringsfristen alt for kort, og folket ikke blitt informert. Alt krever informert samtykke fra hver og en av oss før det gyldig. Punktum.
Flott. Nydelig.
Så den kan jo også være et forslag.
E-post for kvittering, her kan vi skrive inn. Se om vi får det. Trykke neste. Innsenderen, ja. Vilkår, ja, det jo bare å akseptere, eller så får man jo ikke inn. Send inn svar. Takk for ditt svar. Skriv ut svaret, ja, det kan vi godt også. Ja, da var det gjort. Så enkelt det egentlig.
Alle kan sende inn, og det så fort gjort, så da det gjort.
Ja.
Det bedre, den som tier, den samtykker, og det gjelder I all offentlig sektor. Så hvis folk ikke gir et signal tilbake, så har du ingenting å komme med I en fremtidig rettssak. Men, og det skal jeg faktisk fortelle min egen erfaring, fordi at det var I kommuneplanen I Nordreisa I 2012, så kom de med forslag om å lage en gravplass på min mors sin eiendom, og tilfeldigvis så kom jeg over den planen. Så jeg la inn da et notat I den prosessen, der det var lagt inn innsigelse mot en sånn sak. I 2019 så kom da kommunen, og da hadde de bare overkjørt den kommentaren, og la inn en sak om ekspropriering av hele hennes eiendom for å lage en gravplass. Da kjørte jeg, og alle sa, du kommer aldri gjennom, for det kommunestyret har vedtatt dette, det enstemmig, administrasjonen har godkjent det, det ingen ankemulighet, ingen I fylkeskommunen, ingen I departementet, alle sammen sa, nei, vi vil bare gi opp, det her vedtatt av politikerne, så du kommer ingen vei. Og det jeg gjorde da, det var 2 måneder, hardt arbeid, og da fikk jeg snudd kommunestyret etter 2 måneder, og det jeg brukte, dette ikke informert samtykke fra min mor, eller noen av oss. Det ulovlig, og da vant vi.
Yes. Gjøres, fikk du lastet inn dette her, eller?
Nei, jeg gir opp, men det jo så fine, de som har kommet nå fram, som mye bedre, så...
Ja. Jeg bruker det vi har, så det helt I orden, Gjørdis. Vi har Fred her også, vi må snart få runde av, for nå vi har en halvtime over. Hva har du, Fred?
Nei, altså jeg har bare en liten kommentar til høringssvarene. Altså, jeg har jo mistet trua på alt det her. Sorry, Mac, altså ikke for å debunke noen ting her. Altså, det veldig bra initiativ og hele greia. For alle, men altså, jeg husker jo bare de koronagreiene. De skulle jo ha koronapass, og det var jo masse. Det var 25 000 høringssvar som kom inn. Og så plutselig, og så ble hele denne høringssvargreia faktisk kansellert. Og så ble det et nytt høringssvar som kom opp på akkurat samme casen, og da ble det bare 5000 høringssvar. Så jeg tenker sånn at, ja, bryr de seg egentlig? Det det jeg kjenner på, vet du ikke, så ja, jeg synes det veldig bra, så jeg har jo holdt på å sende inn masse høringssvar her, så for alle, men altså, Nå er jeg bare, nå gidder ikke jeg mer. Jeg føler bare på at vi funker ikke, altså. Det er korrupt hele skitten.
Det er jo det samme her som når det gjelder å gå og så stemme ved et valg, ikke sant? Det er jo, man engasjerer seg, men har noen hensikt. Men altså, jeg tenker det at har man ikke gjort noen ting, så har man ikke gjort noen ting. Svarer man og prøver man og gjør noen ting, så har man gjort noen ting. Det er min tanke. Men altså, jeg forstår veldig godt de som har gitt opp hele dritten. Jeg kan godt forstå at folk tenker sånn. Men jeg
Prinsippet med at den som gir den samtykke, det gjelder overalt.
Ja. Altså, det er jo det.
Så må vi si ifra. Hvis vi bare er likegyldige og gir opp, ja, så har de overtaket. Derfor må vi bare en liten protokolltilførsel på et møte kan endre hele kommunestyret. Jeg har jobbet som politiker. Jeg vet akkurat hvor lite som skal til for å velte en stort lass. En liten maur kan velte et stort lass, og vi må aldri gi opp. Aldri gi opp. Jeg er optimist.
Jo, altså det er jo det, men også når du begynner å høre at du 25 000 høringssvar, og de bare egentlig gjør sånn til deg. Det er klart at, ja, fint det. Ja, 25 000, de ga faen ikke faen altså. De sendte inn høringssvar, og så skjer det ingenting. Sånn? Det er bare et bevis det på hvor korrupt det jævelskapet egentlig.
Ja, de er korrupt på alle nivåer, og det er med å vekke oss til å gjøre noe, og vi må ta folkemakta tilbake. Jo flere som er forbannet og frustrert, jo bedre er det. Men vi må ikke gi opp. Vi må holde lys i tunnelen.
Ja. Jeg gir aldri opp, altså for all del, men jeg har ikke noe tro på at det stemmene funker. Men også, jeg skal ikke egentlig ta fra noen initiativer her. Jeg synes det er veldig bra initiativ dere hørte med, og klart høringssvar, ja, kjør på. Men ja, det er mulig at jeg hiver inn et svar før at klokka blir 12 da. Så jeg kan godt finne på det også.
Ja. Ok. Har Einar noen ord å runde av med, eller jeg tror vi skal bare...
Jeg vil være veldig kort. I morgen kveld så har jeg i tillegg til Rise Up klokka 7 og Healy klokka 9, så har jeg fått inn Astrid Groth, som jobber med bevissthetsfrekvensen, intuisjon og bruker tarotkort. Så alle dere er invitert inn å være der og stille spørsmål. Da har hun satt av 1 time til oss for å svare på spørsmål. Astrid Groth, stille for stormen med tarot. Da sier jeg takk for i kveld. Og så ses vi i helga, enten online eller ekte. Ok.
Yes.
Ja, men Aina har jo noen ord å si her.
Ja, så Aina var det, ja.
Jeg må ikke si ha det, før jeg har fått sagt noen ting.
Du er så tilbakeholden og stillferdig, du vet du, Aina.
Sånn at nå har jeg lagt ut påmeldingslinkene i chatten. Og vi kan jo for eksempel også da ta den her QR-koden. Får vi inn den her da? Nei. Men i hvert fall, vi ble kontaktet av Stega med forespørsel om å sende en pressemelding om denne konferansen, og det har vi gjort. Så da kan det jo tenkes at det faktisk står i Stega i morgen om denne frihetskonferansen 2023 for levende kvinner og menn. Og hvis du har lyst til å snakke med de andre som er på den konferansen, inklusive oss, så gleder vi oss til å se nettopp det. Og er det noen av dere som har en fot som er lengre enn den andre, så driver jeg også med hofteretting, og jeg skal faktisk ha en demonstrasjon på hofteretting på scenen klokken 12 på fredagen.
Klokken 12 på fredag, ja, da skal jeg være der. Klokken 12. Det når programmet begynner på fredag, det. Spennende, spennende. Her går det i gang med et bang.
Ja.
Ok, supert, Aina. Hvis ikke det var noe mer da, og det var det vel ikke, så tar vi jo takke for i dag. Og ønsker Vivi god tur videre sørover, for hun er ikke fremme ennå. Mye som kan skje ennå.
Tenk, jeg startet på fredagsmorgen, og jeg ikke kommer lenger enn til Hommelvik i Trøndelag. Litt av en reise, men jeg kommer frem til slutt. Hei da!
Ha det.
Takk, takk.